next on the speaker list is one of my all-time favorite. She was one of the first workshops that I went to when I found myself questioning why in the world am I at this conference full of people who stutter? Why do I want to talk about this thing that I hate, that I'm trying to hide, that I don't want people to see? And then I go to this workshop on fear by Mary Wood, and I walk out a different person. And 30 years later, here she is. One of my dearest friends, Mary Wood. Please take it away.
Hey there, thank you very much. Hmm, as you can probably tell, I was just finishing dinner. I know, and I was thinking about you, Tom, and thinking, God, maybe. Anyway, where do I start? I I had stuttered for about 50 years when I went to a workshop or I went to a conference in Toronto, Ontario, and it wasn't focused on stuttering, but it was on a financial workshop, and there was about, I don't know, 400 people there, and it was an hour long. And at the end of the day, I walked away with these words: My mind controls my body, and what I think about, I bring about. And I just knew on the way home that I didn't have to stutter anymore. First, I was focused on the F word, fluency. Hmm. But one thing that has helped me through all the years and still does today is voluntary stuttering. I learned about this at an NSA conference when I spoke with Vivian Sheehan. She was the one who introduced me to this. She was the wife of Dr. Joseph Sheehan, who also introduced this concept. I think it was him, doesn't matter. And eventually, through the years, I began to love and accept myself as a person who stutters. Then my focus and my wish for fluency began to drop away. An acceptance of myself as a person who stutters began to take its place. It has been then at an NSA conference in San Diego. I was in a class with Dr. Carl Scott, who's a speech language pathologist, and he suggested that we talk to our fear and that we listen to what it has to say to us. He suggested that we set our emotions down at a table and get on a first name basis with them. And I thought, you know what, this is a good exercise for group meetings. And so I asked that why it was in my life, and these words came, and I can still remember them. I am here for you to learn from and to grow from. Those were some words that I had never heard before, and that certainly changed my life. Also, I think it's really important that we don't take it personally if someone is a bad listener. It doesn't mean that you and I aren't worth listening to. And so here are words from another book that has changed my life, The Four Agreements. And this is the second agreement. And the second agreement is don't take anything personally, because nothing other people do is because of you, but it is because of who they are. And when we take something personally, then we make the assumption that they know who we are, that they know what we are experiencing, even when a situation seems so personal. Even if others insult you directly, it has nothing to do with who you are. And so I would ask you, can you begin to believe this? Because what they say and what they do are the opinions they give are according to their own agreements that they have in their own minds. It is really about who they are. During the 50 years that I was a covert stutterer, I didn't let it out very often, and then I was at a CSA, I think, a Canadian Stuttering Association. I was at a conference in Alberta, and I can still remember I was in the elevator with a couple, they weren't at the conference, and then I stuttered, and she just laughed at me. She just laughed at me, and that is one of the times that I can remember that this really helped me through that situation. So many times we want people to listen to us, and yet we fail to listen to others. Being listened to and listening to others has got so much more to do with who we are than we realize. And when it seems that no one is listening to us, it's easy to feel unimportant. It's easy to feel frustrated. It's easy to feel angry, scared, lonely. We all want to be listened to, especially when we stutter. Why? Because listening makes us feel accepted and loved. So I would ask you, what kind of emotional reaction do you have? What's going through your mind when you feel people aren't listening to you? I invite you to label it down, jot it down, describe what's happening in your body and your thoughts and your emotional experience. This is good for our group meetings that we have. So think about what you're actually asking, or what are you seeking from someone else when you speak? Are you wanting them to listen and accept you so that you can feel good about who you are? If so, then it has nothing to do with them, but has everything to do with you and I. And here I always thought that it was someone else's job to listen to me, whether I stutter or not, and for them to accept me, whether I stutter or not. But whose job is it? I really think it's up to me. So many times I'm not listening to the other person, what they're saying, because I'm thinking about how am I going to reply to them without stuttering, or listening to someone else is a gift to them and also to me. A little while ago, I started to read a book entitled When Fear Speaks, Listen. That's the title of my presentation today. Why? Because fear isn't something to run away from, but fear is something to listen to and to learn from. It has taken me many, many, many years to learn this. So I'd like to share the highlights from a couple of the chapters in the book because I can relate to them with the stuttering. And I don't call it my stuttering anymore. I don't want to own it. And so I always refer to it as the stuttering. That's my stuff. So I'm going to share just a tad about worry and shame because these are the two major messengers of fear for me. Worry. Here's the not so good news about worry. Why? Because the sole purpose purpose of worry is to help us think that we can control the future. Very often we're imagining something terrible can happen. We're worried about the loss of control when we speak. We're worried about somebody is going to laugh at us. Okay. Worry robs us of our confidence. It robs us of our belief and our faith by holding a dark and lonely vision that we have about our future. And here's the good news. that you thought you never hear the good news about worry. This Chinese proverb made me smile. That the bird of worry flies over your head, this you cannot change. But that it builds a nest in your hair, you can prevent. So are you going to let it build that nest? I do not have control over what someone thinks about me. Never have had, never will have. But I do have control over whether I want to listen to what they say about who I am. So let's have a conversation with our worry and listen what it has to tell us. And I thought, you know what, this is a good thing to do for our meetings that we have. So I would ask you, what is your worry telling you? And then in the chapter in the book, here's the simple affirmation, which I have been repeating lately. No worries. 2 words. I think I can remember that. No worries. We might not believe it at first, but the longer we repeat it, the stronger it becomes in our mind, in our thoughts, in our heart. And the second thing I'd like to share with you today is about shame. Because one of the deceiving things about shame is that it hides between the fear of making a mistake and being a mistake. Guilt, embarrassment, and wanting to be perfect are shadows of shame. I don't know if any of you know what an Enneagram is, but it has 9 personality traits. I'm a number 1, which is a perfectionist. And when I understood that, it started for me to understand a little bit about the stuttering also. Hmm. Guilt, embarrassment, and wanting to be perfect, feeling self conscious, nervous, humiliated, and uneasy are just a few symptoms of shame. So I would ask you, do any of these show up when we stutter and also when other than when we stutter? No matter how we're communicating with another person, it's important to pay attention to what they're saying. Focus all of our energy on the other person by following these 3 simple steps. Avoid distractions, don't interrupt the speaker. And number 3, don't rehearse your response while the other person is speaking. What is your job and my job? That we are here to listen. And when we're listening to someone else, then I find that my attention is away from myself. Listening involves verbal and nonverbal communication, and it honors the other person and it helps them find solutions for their problems. It can also let them know that they are heard. And that's one of the most important parts of any conversation. And it's also, I think it's an important part for us because we want to know that we are listened to. And good listening can improve our relationships. It means paying attention to what the other speaker is saying, putting our focus on the speaker rather than how we want to respond and the fear that might and very often comes from that. Now I'd like to end with this poem by Jonathan Drain, and it's entitled The Art of Listening. I knew something of conversation, or so I thought, until I listened to another. Knew something of the talk, the sounds, the chatter. But to listen and to speak when moments call, that is far greater. Of conversations past, I no longer can remember, since the day I kept silent and listened to another. There opened up a life which had till then been merely a shadow. At first, the life it seemed another's, but when I was caught and by the mirror that face had changed, it told me of another. Since the day I kept silent and I listened to another. So I want to say thank you for being in my life. I've been a member of the NSA for many moons. I think I joined in the late 90s. Yeah, I'm old. So I say many blessings on your journey to together. It's because we can listen and we can learn from each other. There's a chapter in my book, and I wrote it, I don't know how long ago, but anyway, and it's entitled Stuttering is My Gift. And I never ever thought I would say that. But stuttering has allowed me to look at myself. Stuttering has allowed me to look at the fear that was not only associated with stuttering, but with many other aspects of my life. It has allowed me, really, it has allowed me to travel the world. It has allowed me to meet so many people. It has allowed me to meet them and to listen as they share with me their journey and how that's helped them, and really how we can help each other. We are here for each other. So let's listen to each other, not telling them how they should. I've really taken the word, or I'm really working on taking the word should out of my life. They should, we should, I should. No, no, Nana, as my grandson says, no shoulds anymore. And so thank you, Tom. We've been hanging around for many moons on this journey.
Yes, we have many
And it's
moons and
not
many
gonna
wonderful memories. Yeah, yes, we have. Yes, we have.
end.
Mary, thank you for spending time with us today, and you've always been here to speak at StutterFest. StutterFest would not be the same if you weren't here. We appreciate your time and effort, and your passion towards the world stuttering community. Thank you. Thank you.
Well, every year it just seems to get bigger and
Yeah, yeah.
more open to, because there's always new ways of doing things and thinking things. And I guess I've always kind of looked at them and tried them out on occasions, but then we have to figure out, is that gonna work for me? Like, I will never forget the day I spent, learning about the voluntary stuttering with Vivian Sheehan. I can remember it was at an NSA conference, and I just happened to sit down at the table with her. Oh my God. And she was the one that introduced me to voluntary stuttering. And I don't stutter that much anymore. Who cares? But I'd still use voluntary stuttering. So there have been so many people along the way who have shared their insights, who have shared their love, that I'm able to be at this place.